Hi y'all, welcome back to this video on Foundations of Environmental Ethics. In this video, we explore the foundational ideas, thinkers, and movements that define environmental ethics as a philosophical field. Environmental ethics is not a single theory, but a family of related approaches that emerged as ecological crises challenged traditional moral frameworks. Each thinker we study here, Aldo Leopold, Arne Naess, Murray Bookchin, ecofeminists, and others, developed their views in direct response to a growing awareness that human-centered ethics was inadequate for addressing environmental degradation. Together, these thinkers laid the intellectual groundwork for a new way of understanding our moral relationship to the natural world. The starting point for environmental ethics is a critique of anthropocentrism, the assumption that humans are the central and most important beings in the world. Anthropocentric ethics treats nature as a resource, valuable only insofar as it benefits human goals. Environmental philosophers argue that this assumption has shaped centuries of Western thought and helped to justify practices that exploit or destroy ecosystems. Rejecting anthropocentrism opens the door for alternative frameworks that recognize value in non-human beings, including animals, species, ecosystems, and even landscapes. This shift from human-centered to more inclusive forms of moral reasoning is one of the most important foundations of the field. One of the earliest and most influential thinkers in environmental ethics was Aldo Leopold, whose land ethic transformed the way philosophers think about ecological value. For Leopold, moral consideration must extend beyond individuals to include soils, waters, plants, animals, the land as a whole community. His famous principle states, "A thing is right when it tends to preserve the integrity, stability, and beauty of the biotic community. It is wrong when it tends otherwise." Leopold's insight is that ecosystems have value as interconnected wholes and that humanity is merely part of that whole. Humans are merely plain members and citizens of this community, not its masters. The land ethic introduces a holistic and ecological understanding of morality that remains central to environmental philosophy. Building on the rejection of anthropocentrism, Arne Naess developed the theory of deep ecology, which argues that all living beings have intrinsic value they possess simply by existing and not because they're useful to humans. Deep ecology promotes what Naess calls biospheric egalitarianism, the idea that humans are not superior to other life forms. This radical reorientation demands profound cultural, political, and psychological change. According to deep ecology, we must replace the mindset of domination and control with an ecological self-understanding, recognizing our interdependence with the natural world. While sometimes criticized for being too idealistic, deep ecology remains one of the most influential movements in environmental philosophy. Another essential foundation is social ecology, developed by Murray Bookchin, which argues that ecological problems cannot be separated from social and political structures. Bookchin believed that environmental degradation arises from systems of hierarchy, domination, and exploitation within human societies, such as capitalism, patriarchy, and authoritarianism. In his view, the environment will remain endangered as long as human societies are organized around inequality and power imbalances. Social ecology therefore calls for decentralized, democratic, and ecologically responsible communities. Its central message is that ecological justice and social justice are inseparable. Environmental philosophy also includes perspectives grounded in feminist theory, particularly ecofeminism, which argues that the domination of nature and the oppression of women stem from similar patterns of patriarchal thinking. Ecofeminists emphasize care, relationality, and interdependence as moral values that challenge both gender hierarchy and environmental exploitation. Thinkers such as Mary Mellor and Vandana Shiva argue that environmental issues cannot be fully understood without examining how gender, labor, reproduction, and cultural norms interact with ecological systems. Ecofeminism broadens environmental ethics by showing how social identities and power structures shape our moral relationship with nature. Related to this is the philosophy of bioregionalism, which proposes that society should be organized around natural ecological boundaries, such as watersheds, mountain ranges, and regional ecosystems, rather than political borders. Proponents like Peter Berg argue that sustainable living requires a deep knowledge of the local environment, including climate, soils, plants, and water systems. Bioregionalism encourages communities to develop strong ties to place, promoting ecological responsibility through lived connection rather than abstract principles. Finally, a major contemporary influence on environmental ethics is the international discourse surrounding sustainability and sustainable development, especially as articulated by the United Nations. The UN defines sustainable development as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. This framework highlights economic, social, and environmental dimensions of global well-being and provides guiding principles for energy use, climate action, water quality, biodiversity protection, and environmental justice. While less philosophical than other approaches, sustainability has become a central concept in policy, education, business, and global governance. Each of these thinkers and movements contributes to the foundations of environmental ethics by challenging human-centered thinking, expanding moral considerations to include the natural world, and offering diverse models for living ethically within ecological systems. Together, they provide the intellectual tools necessary for understanding the complex moral questions raised by climate change, species extinction, pollution, and environmental injustice. As we move forward, we'll examine these ideas in greater depth and explore how they shape contemporary environmental debates. Alright y'all, that's all for now. If you're interested in more videos about philosophy and ethics, check out the videos posted on our channel. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.